Estelle, super excited for this chat today with leaders from Tableau and UiPath on building a modernized data platform. Gentlemen, how are you?
Awesome.
Great. Great to be here with you.
Great, great to
Thanks
be
for having us,
here.
Owen.
Great to be here with, two incredible thought leaders in the industry. Before we dive into our topic here on building the modern data pipeline, let's talk and introduce ourselves. Graham, would you introduce yourself? I guess UiPath needs no introduction, but feel free to tell the audience what you do.
You bet. So I'm the Chief Product Officer at UiPath. I joined in December and have worked a lot of my career in AI and automation, most recently with Microsoft as the head of the product group for Microsoft Teams. And, in my current role and responsibility now, I have the vision and the product roadmap for what UiPath is doing in AI and automation.
Well, so exciting. And we look forward to all of your insights. Francois, again, Tableau, a company that's very well known in our space, but maybe give us a refresher here.
Well, sure. Well, it's great to be here. And I have the same role as Graham does, but at Tableau. And I have to say that I'm responsible for product strategy and product direction, and ultimately making sure we build the best possible products for our customers. For those of you that don't know Tableau, our mission is simple. We help people see and understand data. That's what we do. We help turn data into value and into insights, and then drive action on that. And I think that's really, really important because data is such an important commodity for organizations. And the more that we can put that data into the hands of more people and integrate into the systems that people use, the more that we're going to be able to drive successful outcomes for our customers. And this is why, this is what Tableau does. And I'm really excited about the partnership with UiPath to really bring the power of that data to even more places.
Fantastic. Well, you couldn't have a better partnership. So let's start off by talking about the current customer conversation that's out there. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal actually today about the CIO's mindset, what's top of mind. And there were two words you could summarize it in, pressure and uncertainty. So we're in difficult times to say the least, but what's shaping the conversations with customers at the moment over at UiPath?
Yeah, so we're talking to customers all the time. And for those of you who don't know, UiPath is a company that works really closely with our customers to try to automate their end-to-end business processes with automation and AI. And so we're really trying to bring to life a lot of the things that our customers are trying to do to help make their operations a little more lean and do more with less, but also start to do some of the really, truly innovative and creative things that make their folks really excited about coming to work and doing their best jobs and being their best selves. And so in service of that, I think, what's really top of mind for customers these days is how to make sense of a world that's changing so quickly around us. It's not exclusively to AI, but certainly AI is a big part of that conversation, where there's a lot of new ways to use these large language models and other foundational models to do interesting things. They're trying to get a better grasp of how to look at their automations and their business processes end to end across the different silos that exist in their organizations today. And then be able to, something I think that Francois said really well, which is to take action on that and to make sense of what's going on and bringing the right information to the right person at the right time to create great business outcomes, great customer experiences. And I think that's very top of mind for customers. And the Wall Street Journal article today called out a lot of that and some of the challenges folks have with being responsible about having to lead that change, the digital and cultural transformations that everyone is going through today.
It's interesting. I resonate really well with what you said, Graham, because we've gone through this period of growth at all costs. We went through this crazy digital transformation, led by COVID, and it's really transformed how companies think about their technology stack. But today, it's all about efficiencies. How do I do more with less? How do I empower people? And I think that being able to go further becomes so critical to the success of companies today. It is still about growth, but it's about responsible growth. It is still about impact and success, but now it's doing it way more effectively and efficiently than ever before. And so, the needs are still there, but how you do it and, getting more leverage out of the work that you do, whether it's the system work or the people work, I think becomes much more critical today than maybe it was 2 years ago.
Great point. Well, it wouldn't be a fireside chat in tech these days if we didn't talk about AI, which is on top of everyone's mind. Let's start with you, Graham. Talk about AI at UiPath. I mean, you obviously know the automation
UiPath has
world inside and out, but what are you focused on these days when it comes to AI research and development?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Evan. So when we think about AI, UiPath has had a long legacy with AI. It's been sort of a core building block for how folks make a better understanding of both structured and unstructured documents and process data that they look at in order to bring the right information to people at the right time and to really try to streamline some of those. And we've taken an approach that is both open so that you can use sort of the best in class models, but also really flexible to sort of fine tune those AI models to what it is that your business process really needs. A lot of these new novel technologies, especially the large language models and foundational models for both text and for image and some of the other new media, require you to actually ground it in some of the context that is unique to your business. So that means taking a step back and making sure that you have a platform that has all of the best in class models in it. So we're investing in a lot of things like connectors in our products to make sure that you can use the models from OpenAI or from Google or from Amazon SageMaker to have the absolute best models you possibly can. And if you want to build your own or bring your own, you can do so on the UiPath platform. And then finally, I think the one big topic that folks really need to think about is how to deploy some of this AI responsibly. It is very, very different from sort of the traditional deterministic systems that we've had in place for years. And those new models, open folks up to brand new privacy, security, and data compliance kinds of issues. And in so doing, we are also investing in UiPath in building end-to-end solutions that live up to those same principles. It's something we've done for quite a long time, but I'll give you an example. We have a brand new product just released called Communications Mining, which applies this to email communication. So it's leveraging advanced technology, transformer-based LLMs, using the same underlying technology as ChatGPT to automate some of the most common business requirements and time-consuming conversations from beginning to end, classifying data, extracting data, and then routing it to the right person, or making sure that when you make the calls that you need to get the right information for that customer and respond to them, that you have it at your fingertips. And that's one example of quite a few. I'll give you one other example. We just did a deal with a company called Amelia, which does that in the cloud. So if you have virtual agents that are helping you and your IT folks respond to most common questions from your group, they can do that by themselves using these virtual agents to deploy them at scale and responsibly so that folks have these great solutions that they can make sure are not passing data to the wrong hands and that are putting humans in the loop to provide guidance when the technologies need that extra human influence. So those are a couple examples. I'm happy to talk about some of the new scenarios maybe coming forward as well. And it all requires a great data platform. None of these systems are going to work without having a really well thought through data strategy. And I'm sure Francois has a lot to say about that.
I'm sure. And tell us about that journey through AI over the years at Tableau, Francois.
Well, yeah, I think Graham's shared a lot of really important points. You need to be grounded in context. You need trust and ethical use of those models in order to make them work at scale. For us at Tableau, there's really been kind of two parts to AI. One is, hey, we want to enable deeper insights, so you can have more predictions or prescriptions of the insights that come from the data. But more importantly, what we're trying to do is use AI technologies to broaden the reach of data to more people. How do you make the technology 10 to 100 times easier by infusing intelligence to simplify really those experiences? And today in organizations, there's really around 30% of people that have access to data. That means 70% of people don't. They're making decisions based on gut feel, or data is just too intimidating. And when you start looking at technologies like ChatGPT and the large language models, look at what it did in such a short period of time. It made what was seemingly impossible possible. And when you bring that into an experience like Tableau and make that data as easy to use as a natural language query, where you can ask a question and it gets a story written back, that's how we're bringing those experiences. By removing the drudgery that is normally associated with analysis and simplify all that so that people can be thinking with the data and really staying in the flow. And so we've been really experimenting with these technologies for a long time. And now we're seeing this hockey stick growth of the impact of this technology. But with all the technology, like Graham said, right, it has to be grounded in trust. You have to trust the models, because when you get answers from that data, well, is it giving you something that is accurate? Is it hallucinating on that data? So you have to be really thoughtful that you're not just taking random data and putting it out there, that it's trained on your data, it's trained on your business context, and then you can connect it to your organizational flow that's really relevant. And I think that becomes really critical to success and adoption.
Wow, great points. And Graham, most organizations are aspiring to be data-driven, but many fail. So what's standing in the way of companies achieving that goal?
Yeah, I think some of we have to kind of go back to basics in some ways. A lot of what I see, getting people excited are these new generative AI capabilities and things like ChatGPT. But then if you ask some more basic questions like, hey, are you using a system of record to actually track these things over time? And are you actually using a system like Tableau or centralizing data in systems like Snowflake and make them ready for analysis in Tableau to connect the dots for folks? It's only then that you can really ingest and process data from various different sources, like your ERP system or your CRM system, and then make them, reliable and provide that sort of fast time to value through, API automation capabilities. I'll give you one example of a firm I think that's done this really well. Avison Young is a global real estate firm that we worked with really closely. And they realized the potential of sort of their real estate business by using data intelligence and advanced analytics platform, this Avant. And they incorporated the technology from UiPath and Tableau into their platforms. And it sort of keeps them, this is one of their key strategic differentiators. The challenge was that, their data scientists, they were spending something like half of their time just cleaning and preparing the data before they were able to even create some of the insights and the models that they wanted to use. And those basics about just getting people focusing on the models tend to forget, like, you need to just have the data in the right place, have it connected and joined with the other data that helps bring that context and the insights. And so AY was able to reduce that sort of manual fixing of the data to automate the processes and then gain insights. And then from there, you can do some really interesting things like triggering automations and robots on the basis of the insights that you get. And that's where sort of the magic starts to come into place. But in order to do that, you need to go back to basics, look at your data strategy, and make sure you've got the right systems in place to make those things possible in the first place.
Yeah, great
That
point.
makes a ton of sense. Evan, can I jump in on what Graham said?
Yeah, please.
Well, there's a couple of key things in there. Number one is things like skills, who's able to do that. There's a cultural mindset that's, I think, required to enable this data-driven organization. I think there's also, in many cases, lack of context. Data without context is just data. It's just numbers. And I think that context is there. And then last but not least, I like to say it's the therefore what, right? Insights without action is just a wasted opportunity. And when we connect these two things together, and you connect the insight with the actions that are there and really close that loop, all of a sudden you start seeing organizational change, because now the people are able to do it. You have the ability to take that next action and connect it there. And you need to be thinking about it holistically. It's not just about the data. It's not just about the process. It's the two together with the people that will drive that change. And I think that becomes critical to unlocking the value of data and automation and really drive success in the organization.
Wow, love that. So tell us about, Graham, if you would, Tableau plus UiPath. I mean, why was 1+1 = 3 here? There are lots of partnerships out there, but yours looks pretty meaningful, and you have a lot of value to add to joint customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the example I just gave you with Abbas and Young. It makes use of that connector. So there are two key things I think about this partnership that I want to call attention to. One is that we've done the work to make sure that the data that we are accessing and making reliable in UiPath is also available by default in Tableau. What does that mean? That means that when you're looking across all of your processes and you're trying to ask questions like, where are the bottlenecks? Where can we do better? Where are customers being delighted? Where are we letting them down? You can have that. Oftentimes, you have to spend a lot of time cleaning that data up, putting into a format that the data scientists can start to look at, and then visualizing it in ways that make sense. All of that effort we've really made more efficient by providing this connector to Tableau. So you use UiPath and Tableau together, you're going to get those insights way faster with a lot less effort than you might otherwise. The second aspect is the notion of triggers. So, okay, you're running a process and suddenly you don't meet your SLA, or you've got a particular emerging topic that's showing up maybe in your customer support issues, and you want to take action based on that. You don't want to let that sit. It's important. I love Francois talking about like the data silos that exist. When you're not connecting those things both across systems but also with users, then you're missing opportunities to delight customers or to save them and retain them. And that's exactly how you can really deliver on the sort of doing more with less, is taking use of this sort of trigger capability to then go drive the automations that will take the action based on those insights. Those are two of the probably the top ones that I can think of, and I'm sure Francois has some other great things he can add.
Well, those are my favorite ones. And, one of the things I love about UiPath is it really just unlocks possibilities and enables success really quickly. The one that I see over and over again is the ability to use, data. Sometimes you may think of it as a dashboard to figure out where to go target, and being able to call an automation in UiPath is something really, really powerful, so that the human can really help guide where the robots can drive. And we're seeing that over and over again, where the dashboard becomes an analytical application that triggers workflows in the organization. And as Graham mentioned, there's also the other side around, where you may have an automation that lands data in Tableau. And I think that we're going to see more things even over time, where maybe one of the steps in the automation is calling a dashboard to get a number or to get an insight. And then based on that, you might trigger different paths and workflows along the way. But ultimately, it's really unleashing success, and it's unleashing creativity in the organization. And I look at every time I see customers automating things, they're driving more productivity, they're driving more efficiency, and they're able to focus on different parts of the organization where they're going to drive more strategic value and continue to refine and improve their day-to-day operations.
I love it. Refine and improve. Well, Graham, how do we get more quality data for analytics, for AI, which is, of course, data hungry? What's your thinking here?
Yeah, I want to go back to something I think Francois said, which is it does start from taking a different perspective on what your data culture actually looks like. And I said it's data strategy. It's sort of all part and parcel with taking it as a strategic initiative for your organization to become more data aware, to become, hopefully more data driven. And when you do that, instead of adding the telemetry or the instrumentation for a particular process after the fact and then trying to do your best, you think about it up front. You think about, like, in healthcare, what is it that I'm trying to do? I'm really trying to make sure that the outcomes for care of quality is much higher. Well, how are you going to know that? Are you going to ask your users? Is there something you can measure about whether those customers return? What's the rate that they come back and complain about something? You need to figure that out first and then drive it through the organization. Hire the right people who will put the systems in place to enable you to measure them. Ask the people who are actually providing the care, how would you know that this is happening? And then stitching together the systems, whether you have legacy systems that you need to maintain or new systems in order to capture some of these different types of data that you may not have, and bust through all of those data silos to get yourself sort of a more comprehensive view of what it means to provide quality of care, what it means to make the best use of your people, what it means to make sure that those people that you are trying to hold on to are having an awesome experience and focused on the right set of problems to solve, not the mundane things that automation can help them really alleviate.
I totally agree. And, we always like to say that you can't improve what you don't measure. So you got to start by measuring. And based on that, you'll figure out where those opportunities for improvement really come through and where you should focus and where you should just let it be. And I think that is a really important mindset. I think the other mindset I just want to add to what you said, Graham, which was perfect, is to kind of break through the old mindset. And by that, I say have an agile mindset to how you approach these problems. Don't overcomplicate it and create this giant project. Start iterating, show success, answer one question, automate one process, and move and iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate. And the more that you're agile, the more that you can, adjust to the crazy situations that are going on in the world around us. And the more that you can refine what needs improvement and, just let go what doesn't. And I find sometimes we overcomplicate things. And my view of it is simplify and move fast, and then learn and improve and adjust along the way.
That's fascinating. And so, Graham, some industries need that agility a little more than others. I think healthcare, which is sort of playing catch up in digital transformation, maybe manufacturing, financial services. Where's the sweet spot for this message? Would you say?
To be honest, I think most industries will benefit from this thinking. But if I had to highlight a couple, I mentioned healthcare because they're dealing with sort of historically hard problems with respect to retaining a workforce. Like the number of skilled nurses and doctors out there is at an all-time low. So making sure that you hold on to them and make best use of them is really critical. I think manufacturing is an interesting emerging category where the shift to automation is sort of an essential technology to make sure that they can actually stay competitive and scale, especially in a more highly globalized economy, where we've clearly seen that supply chain issues have made it super hard to effectively, even survive in that marketplace. And then I think, you mentioned folks who are sort of still in their digital transformation journey. Financial services is another one, I think, that's very likely to undergo quite a bit of change where, we've seen firsthand the companies that invest in sort of the data strategy and cultural shift that, Francois and I have been talking about, they really outperform their peers quite a bit, and raising the customer satisfaction levels and holding on to those key customers. So those are three of the ones I think are very interesting right now.
Francois, would you land on those industries, maybe others?
Well, I'd say every industry needs automation and needs data, because as Graham says, right, the more that data you have, the more you become data driven, the more successful you're going to be at retaining and growing your customers. But literally every industry has processes that could be automated. Some of the more legacy, if you will, industries, healthcare, manufacturing, financial services, are the ones that are ripe for automation because they have so many processes that could be digitized and automated. But if I were a startup today, starting a new company, I'm building a lot of new infrastructure that needs automation, because the more efficient you are, the more you can focus on growing and focusing on the higher value tasks that are out there. So I will say, look at all your processes. Every time I talk to Graham and everybody at UiPath, I think of my own job and the things that I have to do manually. And I want to automate everything with UiPath because it's highly relevant, especially in this market.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to end until we geek out a little bit on products and tech. So let me ask Graham about a couple of new announcements. You have so many, it's hard to keep track on a day-to-day basis, to be honest. But tell us about Ask GPT and Clipboard AI. That seemed to be really interesting.
Yeah, so the heart and soul of UiPath is creating these processes that either run with you as an attended automation or one that runs by itself in the background as an unattended. And the sort of core building blocks for that are called activities. And one of the newest activities for document understanding is this Ask GPT activity in Studio. And it enables you to sort of get the sort of chat GPT-like functionality, answering questions based on documents that you upload. So it's sort of a drag and drop experience where as a developer, you can create one of these processes really quickly and easily in our Studio. And that enables you to do these really transformational generative experiences yourself in the context of your own flows. So that's a super interesting one. The same kind of technology is also in, you mentioned Wingman. We have this ability to basically transform natural language into one of those processes. So that instead of starting from, the cookbook and the huge glossary of all the things you could potentially do, you just describe something that you might. So an example might be, after this webinar, I want, an automation to send me the link to Zoom and put it into the Slack channel where I'm going to share it with folks. By just describing that to the interface, it can generate the process. And of course, you have to go back in there afterwards and maybe make some tailors, or you didn't specify exactly which channel you wanted to put it in. We can follow up with that to help you actually produce the script or the code or just the parameters that you might need in order to make that thing real. And so those are things that we're working really hard on to make sure that every developer is more productive, but especially democratize this for everyone to be able to make these kinds of processes.
That's fantastic. I know you guys spend a lot of time thinking about naming conventions and brands. That's a pretty good name, Wingman. Maybe even beats Copilot as a name. So congratulations on that. Francois, what about you? I'm just looking through some of your announcements, and you have a lot going on. What can you share in just the last couple minutes?
Well, there's so much. And first, I'm just still thinking about what Graham talked about, because every time I hear from Graham, like, wait, I want that. I think I need that in my organization. So I'll expect a trial link afterwards, Graham, so I can try it myself. With us at Tableau and at Salesforce, there's a couple of really big announcements that we've made. One is, just like Graham said, thinking about how GPT can transform the analytics experience. So we announced recently Einstein GPT. Einstein is kind of the AI technology at Salesforce, and we're infusing that into Tableau. And what that means is that now users won't have to drag and drop anymore to get answers from data. They can type a question, as you would expect from GPT, and you get a narrative story about the data. But what's important with that is just the story is not enough. You need to augment that story with the visual to help you understand, because we know that the visual sense is one of the most powerful senses. So we augment those responses with visualizations. We also augment it by leveraging the graph that exists in Tableau. So we know what other questions people have asked from this data, what dashboards or other assets might exist. So it's not just the answer, it's helping you go further. It's helping you explore and understand what's going on. That's one really important aspect. The other big thing that we announced recently is what we call the Salesforce Data Cloud. And the Salesforce Data Cloud helps you get a single source of truth of your customers so that you can really harmonize all of the data that you have across every touch point. Just think of your customers. You interact with customers across websites and channels and marketing campaigns and email. And how do you get a complete picture of that customer so you can engage with them in more appropriate ways? And so we brought really this whole new set of capabilities to harmonize all that data with instant analytics powered by Tableau, activations directly in the Salesforce platform, and really go from data to insight into action much more easily than ever before. So by trusting the data and making it more accessible to more people, I think that now we're going to enable more companies to really leverage the full value of all the data they have and take the ingenuity and creativity of their people and raise that to a whole new level.
Fantastic. Well, the dynamic duo, UiPath plus Tableau, it's so exciting to see you guys in action. What are you guys looking forward to over the next few weeks, months? Any travel, trips, events, or otherwise, Graham, that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, every day is kind of a new day in this new world where we learn new things about auto GPT and some of the great new stuff that our partners and competitors in some cases are doing. It's just a really cool time to be alive, frankly. But where I get most of my energy from is meeting with customers. So we have a big event coming up in end of June, beginning of July, called Together. So we'll get together with our customers and partners and talk about what's working well for them, how they can take advantage of some of these new things. Francois, you're going to have to send me one of your when that capability is available. I want to use natural language to unlock my Tableau reports too. But every day I'm looking forward to meeting with customers, seeing how they're thinking about this transformation, and then I think this new era of AI. It's sort of like the mouse to the keyboard. It's that sort of a transformational way that people work. And so I'm much more convicted than ever that we, and Tableau and UiPath, are in this great position to fundamentally change the way that people work, make them more productive, make them enjoy the cool parts of their job and focus on where they can really add value and not have to worry about the repetitive and routine stuff, and powered by what you can do with data, what you can do with automation, what you can do with AI.
Cheers to that. Wow, that was quite a mic drop moment there. So Francois, what about you? Anything coming up that is worth shouting out?
I mean, Evan, can I really top that response? I mean, that was pretty amazing. I mean, I think just like Graham, yes. Well, I get excited and inspired by customer conversations every day. And that is the thing that fuels innovation. It enables us to ensure we build the right products. And that is my daily excitement, to be completely honest. Next week, we are hosting our Tableau conference, which will be in Las Vegas with over 7,000 participants, which is one of the largest analytics conferences on the world. And so it'll be a real celebration of our community. It'll be a celebration of innovation where we'll talk about our new GPT innovations, how we're empowering developers, how we're empowering IT to build trusted data, and how we're continuing to innovate for the analysts and for everyone. Because at the end of the day, success is when we put data into the hands of more people. Success is when we truly democratize access to information and enable people to drive better outcomes. And whether that's in business or in our communities, it is so critical that we empower people and make data equitable for all. And I think that we have this incredible opportunity. And between UiPath and Tableau, we're kind of connecting the dots together. Right? We've said data to insight to action, but it's this thing that we keep improving. And in this economy where efficiency is so critical, empowerment is so critical, this is probably one of the most relevant combination of technologies that we have. And we're continuing to learn from our customers and do more and see that success just really sprout everywhere.
Wow, such a great exclamation point on this great conversation. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining. Thanks for listening and sharing, commenting, and look forward to our next chat. Thanks, everyone. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Have a great week.
Thank you, Evan.